today's video, I wanted to talk about what to say when an employer asks you about your gap on your resume after burnout. You know my story by now. I used to be a banker and I've experienced the early stages of burnout, and since I've worked with a lot of busy professionals that have gone through burnout or are close to experiencing burnout, and I've helped them live their best life in their career but also outside. And one of the top worries they have when they finally feel ready to get back out there and find another job is, what should I say when I'm asked about my gap? Should I talk about my burnout? Should I explain what happened? So I decided to answer this question in this video. Stay tuned to the end of this video, in which I will share 1, scripts to use when you talk about your burnout in an interview, 2, what not to say so that you can keep your credibility and get the job, and 3, how to answer the common questions that interviewer will ask you. Hey, I'm Wafa. I'm an ex-investment banker turned career wellness coach and speaker. And on this channel, I love talking about everything related to career, health and wellness, burnout prevention, and self-care. So if any of these topics sound good to you, make sure you subscribe to my channel not to miss future videos on those topics. My goal with this video is to prevent you from feeling shameful and not confident and super self-conscious about your burnout before you step into an interview, because that mindset right there will put you on the spot and can affect your chances of getting hired. People pay attention to what we look like and the energy we exude before what we say. If you go into an interview feeling really bad, feeling ashamed of having experienced burnout, and feeling really low about yourself, they will know that something happened and they will sense that something is right there that you're not telling. So first is to fix your mind and your perception of yourself so that your body language and your vibes don't betray you and tell it all. And so how do we do that? Through acceptance. You need to accept what happened to you. Give yourself grace for every effort you had put in your work. Stop blaming yourself, if you were, about experiencing burnout. There's nothing wrong with you. You didn't do anything wrong. It happens. It's not your fault. There are many factors that are at play when it comes to experiencing burnout. It may have been because your workplace was very toxic. It may have been because your management was toxic. It may have been because of an understaffing or overload of work, or both. It may have been because you had past trauma that was triggered at the workplace. There's so many factors that determine whether someone goes through burnout or not, and it's not something that we can for sure predict. So the number one mistake not to make is to put the blame on you and think that you were not strong enough, you did not have what it takes, something is wrong with you. No, you're great, you're fine. And so your number one job, once you feel physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually healed, hopefully you've gotten some medical support, now you're ready to get back to work, is to do the work to really give yourself acceptance and see what happened to you as a blessing, as an opportunity for learning and for growth, and really stand for yourself, give yourself grace, and see yourself as someone who's competent, who's learned, who's grown, and who's ready now to crush it in life but also in career. Doing this work is vital, and it's truly the key to moving forward to the next steps, because you need to step into that work interview having let go of the past and having full acceptance of it, because that's what will give you this attitude of, I'm standing straight, chest up, I'm proud of myself and my story and what I've gone through, and now I'm here to prove you that I'm competent and I'm going to get this job. Step number 2 is confidence. Step into that room with confidence, the confidence of knowing that you are competent and you have what it takes to deliver great value at this workplace. Know what you have to bring to the table. Remember this, we can never rise above our image. If you step into that interview viewing yourself as someone that's not confident, not enough, people will smell it and they will feel it. So you won't have to talk about your burnout, but they will feel that there's something off. Competence directly stems from self-confidence. So if you believe you're great and you have a lot to bring to the table, it will show. So it's important to believe in yourself. And that's why step number 1 was so important, because once you've made peace with everything that happened in the past, it'll be easier for you to see your great value as a human, but also as a professional, to see all of that skill set that you've developed over the years in college and then in the workplaces you've been at. It's important to remember that and you have them in mind anyways before you step into an interview, so that you will be able to explain them properly and with examples to your interviewer. After all, how are you supposed to convince an interviewer of your worth if you're not sure about your worth first? Believe it first so that they will believe you. And that leads us to step number 3, competence. Once you're at that interview, all you need to do is not to talk about any burnout. Your job is to show them how competent you are and demonstrate it with concrete and specific examples. All the interviewer and that company cares about is, can this person do the job, and more. Can this person that we'll be paying bring value and bring assets that we don't have yet in the team or not enough of yet? So if you think from this standpoint, all you need to do is to demonstrate your skill set and your competence and show that everything that you've gone through so far helped you grow and learn. And now that you're ready and mature enough to share those lessons with them to help them grow their goals, their professional goals. What you need to extract from your burnout experience is the lessons that helped you grow as an individual, but also as a professional. That's why it was important in step 1 to view your burnout as a blessing, as an opportunity for growth, because now you're at that interview, you have grown, you're stronger than before. It's now time to shine by sharing and demonstrating to that interviewer how. When it comes to pitching yourself, especially after burnout, here's a little framework of mine that you can use so that you know how to pitch yourself in a concise but also very structured and relevant manner. I advise you to use the past, present, and future method. Here's a little case study to show you how it works. This past, present, and future method is extremely valuable because it's a way for you to practice storytelling effectively in the way you answer your questions during an interview. It really encourages you to see your past experiences as something of value for today and the future. Let's take a look at the top questions that you can be asked in an interview, especially after having a gap in your resume. Why did you leave your previous role? The interviewer here just wants to understand why led you to be open for change and to be in front of them. Do not say these statements on the left column no matter what, even though that may be true. But what should we say then? You first want to start your answer by focusing on the highlights of your previous role. So you do not want to focus on the departure. You want to focus on the past tense, on what happened during that role. You want to focus the narrative on what went right for you in that previous role. You want to focus on the good times. You're reminiscing what went well in that previous role. And you're not just candidly saying that to please the interviewer or to sound cool. Here, we're dropping names. We're dropping key figures. We're dropping precise KPIs to give more depth to your answer. Second step is to bring the focus back to your skills. Don't dwell too long in the past tense. You want to bring the interviewer back to the present. The interviewer is only interested in your past in a way that tells them how valuable you are for them today. Focusing the narrative on your skills here is a very eloquent way to explain why you left a previous role without focusing on irrelevant reasons. When people leave jobs, it is true that sometimes they leave because they hated it, the team was not a fit, or they were bored. But ultimately, what that means is that it's time for a change. It's time for a change in environment, in scenery, and to just step out of our comfort zone and seek something fresh and new. Do you see what we did there? So this is a smart way for you to explain why you left without focusing on the reason itself, but really just focus on your skills, which do matter. Because remember, you are in an interview where you need to get hired. And so the interviewer only needs to hear about your skills, and your skills. And this is a great segue to part 3, which brings you to them. You say that your interest in that company was sparked by that reason. Is because you know that the challenge you were looking for is present in that company and you know you will be thriving there. So if you read in between the lines, you're basically telling them, I will not leave you. Question number 2. Why did you stay unemployed for several months? So typically, if you've experienced burnout in any shape or form, chances are you had to stay off work for a few days, a few weeks, and perhaps even a few months. First things first, focus on the highlights of your previous role. A smart way you can do that is to emphasize how rich your previous role was in terms of lessons and a learning curve. And so you needed to take some time to absorb all that and to brainstorm on that before you can move on to the next challenge. And saying something like that can really give you the opportunity to transform this unemployed, gap in the resume, not doing anything type of period into a self-reflection, self-growth, self-development, self-assessment period, which then is sort of you doing a research on yourself, on your career aspirations. You're basically meditating, you're doing something productive and useful. It says that you really took the time to think about what you wanted to do next, and then you conducted some research and you spoke with different employees of that team. So you can really show here that you were not doing anything. And even though it was true, even though you were on a sabbatical or you were at home resting, recovering from burnout and healing and all of that, it's important to show that you did take some time to stay with your thoughts, to do the research, to be proactive and start thinking about the next steps of your career, which then brings you to step 3, them again. And so this is where you show, well, I was unemployed for a few months because I took a self-reflection period, which then gave me so much clarity on what I wanted, and now I'm very clear, and now I'm in front of you, and I know that candidating for this opportunity is a mature and well thought through decision. And now you're passing as someone who has done their due diligence, who has taken the time to think about what they want. This type of response can drastically boost your credibility points, if it makes sense. If I called your past employer, what would they say about you? This question scares a lot of candidates, especially when a candidate has worked in a very toxic work environment, they had experienced conflict with their past teams or management, or they abruptly left their role. This question can really scare candidates, because what if they do call the previous team? What will they say? In this scenario, the first thing to know is that the interviewer does not always intend to call your past employer. So the more composed and cool and confident you seem answering this question, the more you will do in reassuring them that they do not need to do the heavy lifting and chase down your past teams to ask them about you. So by preparing this question well, you will do them a favor by reassuring them that you're a good candidate, that your past team is happy of you, and that they won't have to do the due diligence of reaching out to them to find out more about you. Keep in mind that your interviewer has probably several candidates in mind. So if you could spare them the due diligence of having to search you and a bunch of other candidates, they would be more than happy to avoid that step. So this is where you really have a big card to play. So, you are asked about your past employer. Now, in the first paragraph, it's time to use storytelling to frame that relationship with your past employer. You want to share a story of a time where you worked closely with that past employer. And to make your response more probing and more deep and impactful, you want to share as many KPIs and metrics as possible. You want to share the number of deals you worked on, the key KPIs in your industry, whether it was dollars in ad spend or debt or equity or transaction fees, names of clients. So you see, I used well-known grocery stores and I changed the names. You see what I did there? Anyways, so once you've framed the relationship with your past employer and the high points of that relationship, right? Don't talk about the times where you disagreed or you had a fight or they hated on you or whatever. Talk about basically the professional relationship. Talk about a time where you guys collaborated well on a deal or on several deals. And once you've done that, then you can bring the conversation back on your skills, right? This is what the interviewer really wants to know about. When they say, if I called your past employer, what would they say about you? What they really want to know is, what is it like to work with you in real life? They want to hear about your skills. How can you be valuable to them if they hired you today. And so don't get lost in unnecessary details. Really just focus on skills, skills, skills. Number 3, project yourself in the company to show that you're emotionally involved with this current employer. Can you provide a list of references to call from your previous employer? This question is pretty similar to the previous one. Here, a lot of candidates panic again because they really think the interviewer will call their past employer. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And so here the candidate's job is to give the interviewer a lot of reassurance on what they want to know, which is this candidate a good fit for the team? Do they have what it takes to bring a lot of value to the team and stay and thrive here for a long time? Yes or no? Here we cannot really control if they will reach out, for sure, to past team members. However, what we can control is our answer and how assertive and confident we sound when we do answer this. Do not get too up close and personal with the interviewer and start being too emotional and say, hey, please don't reach out to my past team. It was a very traumatic experience. They really hated me, or it didn't go well. Do not get caught in your feelings and start opening up too much, even though it's true. We're back at it again with the storytelling. 1, focus on the past tense. Focus on what went well in your last role, right? They want to call your previous employer. So let's give them a great, real life story of what went well with your previous employer. And so reminisce, show how grateful you are to have worked in that. That's why I really insisted on the importance of viewing your past experiences, including hard experiences like burnout, as blessings, because there's always a chance to show gratitude, and that's going to help you not only heal and move on fast from these experiences, but also during the interview, it's going to help you show positive vibes and have a great attitude in front of the interviewer. So here, really show them that you were able to bond and interact and collaborate with different team members within your team, within other teams, and with clients as well, which then in terms gives you the flexibility to say, I do have different references from various teams. So you don't really have to share references within just your team. In paragraph 2, now is the time to share references that you're comfortable sharing. Share 2 to 3 maximum, unless you're asked for more. In part 3, make the interviewer's life easier and ask them if they would need you to send those references to them by email later or not. How can I know that you won't leave the team after a few months? Obviously, don't say that you cannot be sure, because the reality is this, like, nobody knows, right, if it's going to be a good fit unless you've experienced it. It's like in a marriage. But just like in the other previous questions, you really want to reassure the interviewer that based on all the due diligence that you've done, it really sounds like this company is a good fit, if you think it is, of course. So in step 1 here, you really want to focus on your long-term vision. Show them that you've thought your long-term career plan. And here is your chance to highlight that gap you had in your resume, which we branded as a self-assessment period earlier, and really share what insights came up to you in terms of what you wanted to do with your career, and then build up onto that and project yourself in this current company, and really highlight the fact that you have done your due diligence, you have done your research, and you are aware of the opportunities that this team offers. So this is why reaching out to people that work in the target companies that you're applying for is incredibly valuable. And now in step 3, you can then reassure them that they are an ideal fit based on your reflection period in step 1, and 2, your due diligence and research in step 2. And so here you can really, again, reassure them and say that based on the evidence, it sounds like this position sounds like one where you can thrive in for many years to come. And that's it. Here you have it for this video. I'm so excited. I hope you feel excited for your future interviews. Believe in yourself. Honestly, I hope this video pumps you and gives you so much confidence. And if you liked it, give it a good like and subscribe to my channel. I really want to hear from you. What else do you want me to talk about on this channel, burnout related or not? Let me know in the comment section below and let's chat together. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, if you liked it, give it a good like, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for next week's video. Bye!